What's up, G-Way? In the cut with my twin, we be vibing. Classy bitch, but they know I be outside with it.
Tell me about Cop City.
Cop City is a $90 million militarized police training facility that the city of Atlanta is trying to dump in the middle of the blackest part of Southeast Atlanta. Cop City would be equipped with a mock city for urban warfare training, complete with a bomb testing facility, a Black Hawk helicopter landing pad, a mock apartment complex where they could scale buildings and pretend to break into people's houses and blow their up and terrorize the community. Cop City would also be equipped with community meeting rooms for those who support the Atlanta Police Foundation and all of their shenanigans to be able to meet. And oh, I forgot, a nice walking path right through the middle of it.
Wow. Let's give a quick shout out to all of the Democratic leadership that marched with Black Lives Matter, turned around and voted for Cop City.
Let's give a big shout out to Mayor Andre Dickens, council members Michael Julian Bond, Andrea Boone, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Mary Norwood, Dustin Hillis, Matt Westmoreland, Howard Shook. Oh, we cannot forget about Byron Amos. He gets a special shout out because he represents the district that is also the victim of environmental racism, the same as the land where they want to build Cop City. And those residents have a very bad problem with lead in their water, and the EPA came out to try to help the residents mitigate that, and Byron Amos did not even do the least that he could do and send a letter to constituents to say, hey, the EPA is here, they want to help you with your lead problem, come out and let us help you. Oh, and he's making sure that there is no affordable housing in his district. So
What's his name again?
Byron Amos. Big
Say his
shout out
name.
to you, Byron Amos.
Because I remember marching for Black Lives Matter. I specifically remember us chanting, build a military facility for the police.
That's really what we want.
Yeah.
We want police walking down our streets with AR-15s, and we want to make sure that they have all types of militarized equipment on. We want our police to look like they're about to walk into Baghdad.
'Cause we're saving the forest. Yep, we're saving the forest. 'Cause we're saving the forest. Yep, we're saving the forest. 'Cause we're saving the forest and saving them trees. We're saving them branches and saving them leaves. We're saving the A from the APD, from building a building that we don't need. We're saving the dirt and we're saving the grass. 'Cause all Cop City's been treating us bad. We're coming together to do what we can, defending the forest and saving the land. 'Cause we're saving the forest. Yep, we're saving the forest. 'Cause we're saving the forest. Yep, we're saving the forest. 'Cause we're saving the forest. Yep, we're saving the forest. 'Cause we're saving the forest. Yep, we're saving the forest.
Okay, one of the most important movements today is the movement to stop Cop City. We saw the influence of the police decline as a consequence of the uprisings that began in 2020, and Cop City represents the effort of police all over the country to reclaim their position. That is why it is important for activists everywhere to join the movement to stop Cop City.
Thank you for this question. I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities, as well as offer some invaluable resources, because I think it's important that we all understand what's going on and get engaged in our local communities in opposition to it. But as an overview, Cop City is a colloquial term coined by Atlantan abolitionists, organizers, and land defenders in reference to the proposal of Atlanta City to erect a police training facility. One that will require leveling over 300 acres of land, some of the only green space left in Atlanta, spending over 30 million taxpayer dollars, and sitting outside of a predominantly Black neighborhood. And this facility won't be the YMCA. It includes plans to erect a mock city to engage in urban warfare training, have an explosive devices center, and other tools meant to further militarize the Atlanta PD. Atlanta PD, mind you, who through the Gilay program already trains with the IDF. The Israeli military actively genociding the Palestinian people right now in Gaza. And any opposition to the city's plans have been met with increasing violence from them. Folks have been doxxed for voting no for the referendum. They have raided people's homes. They have charged organizers with RICO charges. And in the case of Tortuguita, I pray I said their name correctly, they were executed in the forest on their knees by Atlanta PD with over 57 shots. And Atlanta isn't the end-all be-all. There are plans in other cities for similar facilities. Baltimore has proposed one, Colorado Springs, Pittsburgh. This is the first in a wave of further militarizing police forces so that they are better at engaging with civilians in urban warfare, all while using your taxpayer dollars to get better at annihilating you. As well as some corporate funds, I strongly suggest you look to see what companies are sponsoring these developments. And I would not spend my money there if I were you, if you can avoid it. And again, this is me just giving broad strokes. If you want something in video form, Al Jazeera did a great video that's on YouTube called Atlanta versus the PD. I think it's a great overview as well. Scallywag magazine has been like on the ground, doing the work, reporting very ethically and soundly on Cop City from the beginning, as well as other coalitions and alliances. I will put them on the screen, and ones that I may have forgotten will end up in my comments. Now more than ever, it is important not just to stand in solidarity with our international brothers and sisters facing oppression, but the people who are local to us as well. I think this should teach people that there is plenty going on at home that is directly related to other imperial interests that you need to be combating. And I understand that a lot of people feel helpless a lot of the time, especially when they see sorrow and horrors happening abroad, but there's work to be done here. You could be a boot on the ground right now for something like this. And just as I pray for the liberation of the Palestinian people from under the Israeli occupation and regime, I pray that we too are liberated from the hypermilitarization and control that the police have over us here in the States as civilians. In short, free the guys.
We are religious people here, guided by our faith to stand up and protect the land. We are supported by our community, which are right there. We are here with the support of not just the people, but the forests and the environmental protection movement globally. We will not leave here. We will stand here until this forest is rebuilt.
61 people are being charged for racketeering, which is illegal organizing, just to organize to defend this forest. What's next? You won't be able to organize to form any local group, even your local PTA. Mm-hmm. They're criminalizing people organizing who will push back against whatever they want to do.
I'm doing this because this planet is so important to me. I wouldn't be here, none of us would be here without the soil beneath our feet, without the trees that give us oxygen.
The Weelaunee Forest was once the home of the Muskogee Creek peoples, and it was taken from them. The Muskogee have a life-affirming, sacred relationship with the land and other sentient beings that should inform our relationship with all of nature. It is also troubling to me that this training facility is in a predominantly Black community in DeKalb County. It is institutional racism at work when communities of color are repeatedly degraded, this time by the presence of increased militarism in their own neighborhoods.
The corporations that are empowered to make the decisions that affect our lives are not going to make the right decisions. So we have to stand up and take our own future into our own hands through direct actions like this. We need as many people as possible to join in this fight of nonviolent direct actions. The more of us that are willing to take the risk and come out here and put their bodies on the line to save the forest, then we will win. It's ultimately up to us whether we win or not.
I am your leader, yes I am your leader, you're not a believer, sucker.
I've been seeing the argument online a lot that what's going on in Gaza directly relates to us as Americans because the United States is funding Israel with our tax dollars, and while that's true, I don't think that provides the full picture of what's going on. Like, the primary issue I have with that framing is that it implies that the relationship is one-sided, when the United States and Israel are actually collaborating on like a multinational project that involves militarization, racial profiling, and mass surveillance. If you follow me, you might know that I've been doing some Stop Cop City organizing the past year, and I want to share something that a lot of people in the movement know, but I feel like people outside don't really know as much. For the past 30 years, the state of Georgia, through Georgia State University, has been running a program called the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange, which kind of is what you would expect. It's basically an exchange program, but instead of it being students who are learning about other cultures and languages, it's police officers that are exchanging notes on how to police their citizens correctly. And though it involves a lot of governments like China, Egypt, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, its like biggest partnership is with the state of Israel, specifically Israeli police. And like the literal founder of this program has said explicitly through this program that Israeli operations in Gaza are a legitimate defensive action against a continuous onslaught of terror that has not been stopped by any other means. He has also accused the silent majority of Muslims as being complicit in Islamic terrorism's presence in the West. I mean, it's not just that. He's literally complained that the First Amendment doesn't let the FBI target mosques. He's also accused Arab American advocacy groups as basically supporting terrorism. And this stuff is effective. Like, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation director has said himself that a partner nation has taught him that the primary threat to democratic countries was terrorism by radical Islam. And racial profiling is just one strategy that this program teaches. They also teach militarization, using certain tactics that even the IDF uses, like racking firearms against protesters, also encouraging police officials to direct their officers to flash the blue lights on the roof of their vehicles while patrolling certain neighborhoods. And everyone knows what we're referring to when we say certain neighborhoods, right? And we can't forget about the surveillance state, like when the Atlanta Police Department, after a trip to Israel, decided to make this video integration center that basically consolidates a bunch of footage from public and private security cameras that they said explicitly was modeled after the command and control center in the old city of Jerusalem. This is all culminating in a $90 million, 85-acre police training facility that's being built right outside of Atlanta. And this was never put up to a vote because the majority of locals are against it, by the way. Something I feel like is not talked about enough in contemporary American history is how after the entire country erupted in protest against the brutality and murder of black people in America, the state and federal government's response to this was not to scale back the police force in any way. Instead, the response was to exponentially increase the funding of the police in America. And it's not just Georgia. I guarantee you, no matter where you are in America, there is a cop training facility or a prison being built near you. And there are so many programs that the United States runs in collaboration with Israel. I just want us to be really clear, like, yes, the United States plays a huge role in supporting Israel and in contributing to the occupation of Palestine. But none of these inhumane methods are localized to that region, because those same strategies are being used on Americans here domestically. I want to end this with a post that someone sent me that's based off of a protest chant in Algeria that says, "We're not freeing Palestine. Palestine is freeing us." Like, we are not the saviors in this situation. Though obviously we can't understand what it's like to be in Gaza at this time, we are very much living under the same system that is orchestrating all of this. And I promise you, we may have the luxury of feeling like there's distance between us and the news right now, but this is a lot closer and this is a lot more immediate than we think.
People should be really concerned that 61 Cop City protesters are facing RICO charges in Georgia. If you don't know what Cop City is, it's a $90 million project which will be built on a stretch of forested land in DeKalb County, just outside of Atlanta. And in this facility, they will have mock setups of convenience stores, homes, and nightclubs, training cops on urban warfare. These charges against the protesters were brought by Attorney General Chris Carr, who used his platform to recruit for January 6th. So it's very sad that this Republican AG brought these RICO charges just weeks after Trump got indicted on RICO charges. And the Republican governor, Brian Kemp, praised the RICO charges against the protesters, saying, "My top priority is and always will be keeping Georgians safe, especially against out-of-state radicals." But when it comes to RICO charges against Trump, Kemp said that the GOP should not be focusing on stupid things. Trying to overturn an election is not a stupid thing, Brian Kemp. And these RICO charges against protesters is a way to intimidate people to not get involved. Because this movement includes environmental activists, community groups, faith leaders, abolitionists, students, artists, and people from all over. These kind of tactics are infringing on people's freedom of speech and ability to unite and protest. Stay vigilant.
We all know there's been a lot of problems with law enforcement and policing in this country over the last few years, especially right here in Atlanta, Georgia. The solution is police officers need better training. Okay, better training for police. I'm with you so far. That's why we in Atlanta are going to build an 85-acre, $90 million training facility just for police. Boom, mic drop, solved all the issues. Wait a minute. What? 85 acres and $90 million just to train a few police officers. Doesn't that sound excessive? What do you need 85 acres for? Well, we need 85 acres because this training facility is going to include a mock city in which the police will learn how to engage in urban combat. Wait, I didn't mean to say that. I meant they're going to learn how to engage in urban warfare. Wait, that's not the right word either. They're going to learn how to engage in urban confrontations with urban people in an urban environment. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, it sounds like you're militarizing the police and training them on how to fight majority black cities. No, it's got nothing to do with being black. I think you're just focusing too much on the word urban there. But where are you even going to find 85 acres at? Anybody who knows anything about Atlanta knows we're running out of space here. Well, you're right. We are running out of space here in Atlanta. And that's why we're going to build this facility outside the city limits in the DeKalb County Forest. We found a wonderful space there that used to be a prison farm. Ironic, right? And we're just going to cut down a shit ton of trees and build a facility right there. So you're going to create a whole host of environmental problems by cutting into a forest that is literally known as the lungs of Atlanta just so you can build some giant cop city? I don't like that term, cop city. We're not building a cop city, okay? That sounds like a failed NBC pilot. We're building a mock city so cops can learn how to attack cities. Totally different. Well, that's even worse. But what about this price tag of $90 million? Where are you getting that money from? Is that coming from the taxpayers? Well, the taxpayers will have to foot some of the bill, but not the whole thing though. We've got a ton of private donations from executives who sit on the boards of major corporations here in Atlanta. Corporations like AT&T, Delta Airlines, Home Depot, Georgia Pacific, Waffle House. Gotta help Waffle House. I mean, you've seen the videos. They definitely need our help. Kind of seems like the corporations themselves are buying the police so the police can serve the corporations instead of the interests of the communities. I mean, you see how that connection could be made, right? No, that's not. Can you just stop asking dumb questions, okay? Can you ask at least one smart question before we end this press conference? Yeah, one last question. Are you only going to be training Atlanta cops, or are you going to be training cops from all over the country in how to engage in urban warfare? This press conference is over. Thanks for ruining my Cop City announcement. I thought you didn't want us to call it that. Yeah, well, I changed my mind. And whoever sold you that hat had a wonderful sense of humor. Asshole.
Did you know that thousands of U.S. police and law enforcement are trained by Israeli officials?
So if you go back and watch her video for context, she basically explains that during the 2020 protests, Palestinians were giving black people here in the streets of America tips about how to evade police forces and brutality. And that was because a lot of the tactics that are used by American police, they learn over in Israel when they go and train with the Israeli military, because there's programs that a lot of major police forces have where they send officers over to train with the Israeli military for about a year to 18 months, and vice versa. The Israeli military come over and do the same here. And one of the major cities who does that is Atlanta. So there's a program here called Gilly, where APD officers and GSU PD officers go and train over in Israel, and Israeli officers come over here and train with GSU and APD for about 18 months or more. And that's where they're learning these tactics. And that's also one of the biggest proponents for why Atlanta as a whole is pushing for the cop cities to be built, because they need bigger facilities to do broader training like this. So if you're looking at the conflict in Palestine and Israel right now and like, oh, that's not my business as a minority or as a black person here in Atlanta in the US, you're fucking wrong, because if they get the money to do this, they're gonna start doing more shit like this to us. And so just know that, like, when you see struggle of other minorities around the world, know it's interconnected. It's not just, oh, it's a one-off, oh, that's their shit, that has nothing to do with me. It always has something to do with you, because 9 times out of 10, brutality is not just a random thing. It's known, it's learned. They practice it from somewhere, they're copying it from somewhere. So realize that what's happening in Palestine can directly and will directly affect the citizens of the U.S.
على عهدي على ديني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني
Over the last couple of days, I know many people heard about this about a month or two ago when 61 people were going to be brought up on RICO charges and dozens on Georgia RICO racketeering charges related to Stop Cop City movement appear in court. This article is originally from November 7th and today is November 9th, 2023. Nearly 5 dozen people indicted on racketeering charges related to protests against a planned oinker and firefighter training facility near Atlanta appeared in court on Monday as their supporters rallied outside the courthouse. Protests against the proposed training center dubbed Oinker City by opponents have been going on for more than 2 years. Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr obtained a sweeping indictment in August using the state's anti-racketeering law to target the protesters and characterizing them as militant anarchists. The demonstrators and civil rights organizations, including the American Civil Liberties Union, have condemned the indictment and accused Carr, a Republican, of levying heavy-handed charges to try to silence the movement that has galvanized environmentalists and anti-oinker protesters across the country. I also want to make it abundantly clear that people need to be paying attention to Cop City, especially with so many people learning that the IDF trains oinkers in the U.S. It is imperative that we pay attention to the construction of this facility as it directly relates to a lot of the abuse and violence that we are seeing against people all over this country by fucking oinkers. On top of that, Atlanta being a heavily black city, it is even more alarming that they would put something like this there, as well as the intense and immense environmental impacts that this will create. Something else I want to talk about that is developing, as of November 9, 2023 at 11:57 Eastern Time, 4 seniors arrested after blocking the entrance of Oinker City, cite the demonstration Oinkers say. 4 seniors were arrested Wednesday after they blocked the entrance of the future public safety training center, often called Oinker City by critics, Oinkers said. At 10:30 a.m., about 2 dozen protesters sat outside the site's fence, holding banners with messages like "Stop the construction, let the people decide," and "The elders for the forest." After Oinkers' warnings, everyone but the 4 seniors Look at this. Old ass ladies that are fighting for people's rights, and they have the audacity to fucking arrest them. If people have information about these women and ways to provide funds, as well as if people have additional information about ways to help those that are facing these RICO charges and other protesters, please post it in my comments, DM me, let me know. But we cannot stop talking about what is happening in Oinker City. It is so imperative that we are paying attention to multiple things at once, because they will try to slide things in while we are not paying attention.
Andy Lopez, say his name.
Andy Lopez.
Andy Lopez, say his name.
Andy Lopez.
From the Bay to the A.
Stop Cop City.
From the Bay to the A.
Stop Cop City.
What do you want?
Not Cop City.
What do you want?
Not Cop City.
From the Bay to the A.
Stop Cop City.
From the Bay to the A.
Stop Cop City.
What do you want?
Not Cop City.
What do you want?
Not Cop City.
Tatiana Jefferson, say her name.
Tatiana Jefferson.
Do all of the black people who I've seen say things like, "What does Israel versus Palestine have to do with us?" A lot, and I'm going to tell you why. This goes for any other American too, because you're subject to be next. If I told you to guess where police departments that are extremely militarized and violent and often known for taking the lives of black people here in the United States, where would you say that they're trained? And wrong. Did you know that police departments are trained in Israel? Like, they are extremely violent and militaristic for a reason. They train with the Israel military. Cop City, this $90 million police training facility that is being proposed in Atlanta, that was peacefully protested, and still someone's life was taken despite being peacefully protesting. These cops are being trained by Israel. Hell, you can take it from Israel's mouth. Like, literally, like, y'all don't understand. All of us are connected. If we don't stand up for all of us, we will be next. In fact, we already are. It's happening already. This is your fight just as much as it's their fight. If you don't stand up for Palestinians, who the fuck is going to be there to stand up for us? I've seen people say, oh, like Palestinians hate black. No, they don't. No, they don't. You don't have to look super far to find images of George Floyd's memorial that is in Gaza. Like, come on, y'all. I'm going to put this in a specific playlist. I have this video in there called The Water Tower Theory, and I need you to look at that video and see how we are all connected. And if one of us topples over, we all topple over. Our human rights are connected, and if you have any question or doubt about that, look at who's training our police. Be fucking for real.
Friends, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. There needs to be more eyes on what is happening in Atlanta, because today 61 people were arraigned with RICO charges in relation to the Stop Cop City movement, a movement run by organizers, abolitionists, and land defenders who are trying to stop the building of an urban warfare training facility for Atlanta PD that would have to level over 300 acres of forest, use over 30 million taxpayer dollars, and sit right outside of a predominantly black neighborhood. Those people right now are going to go to trial going into next year, and they are by prosecution in court today being labeled as terrorists and militant anarchists. Y'all need to be very afraid of what it would look like for the Atlanta PD and prosecutors to get a successful conviction for 61 people to be labeled as terrorists because they directly oppose violent policy that the city is trying to enact with their money. You can care about more than one thing at once, especially when those things are vastly connected. Tap into Atlanta, please. Friends, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. There needs to be more eyes on what is happening in Atlanta, because today...
So before I leave, I'm going to add my 2 cents. They are trying everything and anything they can do to take away these First Amendment rights. Like, freaking RICO charges? Are you serious? Because it's all they can do at that point is a RICO charge. Like, there's nothing else you could, like, they're just protesting. The peep game, right? Black Lives Matter? Terrorists, right? Pro-Palestine? Terrorists. But instead of RICO charges, they're saying that we're anti-Semitic. But last time I checked, none of these protests are doing any criminal activity. And we're not denying anybody to opportunities and services. First of all, it's not even, we don't even have a problem with the Jewish community. It's the political Zionist group that everybody has an issue with, including Israel's own people. So does that mean that they're anti-Semitic too? No, it doesn't, because nobody's being anti-Semitic. Do not let these people try to switch up definition and change things. Continue to stand up. Continue to fight for your rights. Because if you don't, they will take them away. And I don't know about y'all, but my people fought too hard to have their rights. And I'm fighting too hard for other people to have their rights as well. We need to continue to fight. Like, how are we going to let people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor, whatever, dictate some stuff? Like, what?
This project is everything that is wrong with America embodied in one. Racism, environmental genocide, corporate corruption, and imperialism, because of course this facility is going to continue the deadly exchange of training tactics between the Israeli occupation forces. Of course. Of course. We fight to stop Cop City because we know the problems don't end there. The whole system is rotten. There's a 48% recidivism rate in this country, and there are mass shootings every week. The police only solve 11% of crime nationally. So exactly why are we putting so much money into a failing system that does not keep us safe? We put trillions of dollars a year into this system. We spend $48,000 per incarcerated person to continue a system that is just, like they said, legalized slavery, built on ground that was stolen from people, built upon by stolen people. I just think we should take a lesson from France. You know, right now, they raising hell because all their government did was say, we're going to raise the retirement age by 2 years. And there's a motherfucking toilet in the president's motherfucking window right now. And the corporate media, they're not even reporting on this shit. Are they reporting on Cop City? Are they reporting on the continuation of police genocide that has happened on working class black people, on activists like ourselves? Because at the end of the day, Tort was a beautiful soul who did mutual aid and direct action. Here we all are, a bunch of activists, community members, community organizers. We do the same goddamn work. This could be any of us at any motherfucking time. This could be any of us at any goddamn time. They are prosecuting climate defenders. They are killing them. And yet, we continue to fucking put money into militarization of the police. We continue to put money into imperialism that is destroying our world. And here we have a project that embodies all of the shit that is so fucked up about the history and the present actions of this country.
60 people that are involved in the Stop Cop City movement have been charged with RICO indictments and domestic terrorism. This is a very dangerous precedent for every single organizer. These people are doing stuff like mutual aid, passing out flyers, literally bonding out people that have been unlawfully arrested when they're exercising their First Amendment rights, to basically say they don't want this training center that's going to be used internationally in their city in the middle of the effing forest, y'all. And they're charging them with RICOs. Like, this is stuff that they use to charge the mob. The state filed these charges, and this guy apparently is Chris Carr, is wanting to become governor or something like that. You know, this is crazy. And it's like, oh my goodness, you know, why should I care about this? Why should I do this? Blah, blah, blah. If you organize in 2020, if you're still currently organizing now, you should care. Because if this is a precedent that is set where the state can wield power like this to suppress people's movements, it's coming for all of us. Seriously. Stopping Cop City is a worthy cause. Building a cop training center in the middle of a forest during a climate disaster, and in general, you're building it so cops from all over are going to come down and train at your center and learn how to brutalize protesters like they did in 2020. This is crazy. This is a really bad precedent, y'all. A really bad precedent. Everybody should care about this. Everyone should care about this, regardless of whether you're an organizer or not. If they can do it to them, they can do it to us. Solidarity.
All right, y'all. So I cannot confirm this because I cannot get each individual page to load. But they're saying that everybody who signed a petition for Stop Cop City has been doxxed. So to these forms that they released to the public include names, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. So all of that is listed on these forms. I can't get them to load, so I can't deny, but that's what's circulating. Other people said they've gotten them to load, but I can't get them to load. I will leave a link in the comments, but yeah.
There's a program called the Gilly Program, and the idea is that you have Atlanta Police Department police officers that are being transported over to Israel to train with the IDF, right? The Israeli police, the Israeli military, and then they share tactics, right? So they share tactics that APD uses to brutalize and police and surveil black folks here in the United States and poor people here in the United States. And then they give those tactics to the Israeli police forces, and Israel gives the tactics of how they police, surveil, and murder Palestinians over to the Atlanta Police Department to export those practices over here. As a matter of fact, we talk about Cop City. One of the direct parallels between Cop City with Atlanta and Israel is that a lot of people don't know this, but there's actually a mock town a mock Gaza town that the Israeli forces use to practice their militarized urban warfare tactics. That's the same type of thing that they're trying to build here in Atlanta, right? So this is a direct parallel between the practices that are going on in Israel to the practices that are going on here in Atlanta. Another one is Operation Shield. A lot of people don't know that Atlanta is the most surveilled city in the United States. where do they get those tactics for where to place those cameras, how to get the facial recognition software to be able to use to be able to surveil Black Atlantas here in the United States. They got it from Israel. A direct correlation as to how they share these tactics. So yeah, it's a program. It's very clear that what their intention is here, because we see what their intention is in Israel as they're committing their genocide on Palestinians right now.
61 of the Stop Cop City activists were indicted on RICO charges. I want to say again, 61 of the Stop Cop City activists were indicted on RICO charges. Those activists are actively fighting the creation of Cop City, which I also want to stress this because I've seen a lot of people bringing it up, a lot of people that I follow on here. Cop City is not just for cops in Atlanta. The idea is that they are going to be training fucking police officers in this fucking city to go back to cities and enact the violence and the terror that they all discover that they can do at this fucking training facility and use it in your community. I also say this while we are having this discourse about whether or not Black women deserve protection, quote unquote, and all that bullshit. I need us to remember something very clearly. One thing that fucking cops love to do is find people to blame and find justifications as to why they have the right to fucking kill you in the street. And there have been a lot of men, particularly Black men, getting on here to tell the whole fucking world about how they would not protect a woman if she is being attacked, how they would not protect a stranger if they were being attacked. And I want you guys to remember that they created the super predator fucking bullshit theory that they had about Black men to justify why Black men belonged in prison. And now what they are going to do, because again, you took pages out of the fucking playbooks that they fucking made. They are going to flip that shit back on you. All of y'all talking about, oh, I don't protect strangers. Cops flip it. Oh, you see how Black men won't even protect somebody who's in danger? What would they do to you? You guys are talking about, oh, she deserves to get hit with a brick. You know how they're going to flip that? Look at how they treat women within their own communities. Could you imagine what they do to women in other communities? The fact that so many of y'all have watched what the Supreme Court has done, have watched what police continue to do, have watched what governmental officials do when it comes to voting rights, and think that they won't take your rhetoric and fucking turn that shit on you. At the same time, so many of you have alienated so many Black women from this one experience. The Black women who would have been on the streets marching alongside you are no longer going to be there. The Black women who would have made posts and videos and talked about how police should not be able to do this. The Black women who would literally put their physical beings on the line are not going to be there. We are watching a fucking shit show unfolding on us. Full-blown fascism is just rearing its fucking head, and we're having bullshit conversations about who to protect. I also want us to make sure that we're particularly paying attention at the fact that we're going into 2024, which is an election year. If the debates that you saw from the Republican side didn't fucking scare you enough, and if this doesn't fucking scare you enough, I don't know what the fuck to say.
Last try, give it up. I'm looking down, she looking up. About to wake the game up. Like dice, shake 'em up. And I ain't letting up. Moving slow, speed it up.
If you're not understanding what's happening in Atlanta right now, please watch this video. So for context, there's a $90 million public safety training center proposed in Atlanta right now that includes the creation of this simulated city for cops to train in that people have dubbed Cop City. By simulated city, I mean it's a simulated city that cops are training in urban warfare. I'm making this up. This is real. And if you need to read about the harms, just read that. People who were protesting the creation of this Cop City were being arrested and tried as domestic terrorists. And then the governor of Georgia came out with this statement, said that they would not stop until all participants in the Cop City movement were tried, arrested, and punished. And in June, a SWAT team arrested 3 activists with the Atlanta Solidarity Fund, a bail fund like ours that paid the bail of protesters for the Cop City movement. Mind you, all of these things are well within our First Amendment rights. Yesterday, they charged activists and protesters with RICO charges. These are the same charges used for Young Thug and Donald Trump. We should all be standing in solidarity. You have a right to protest.
Hey everyone, I'm Simran with Sister Song Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collective, and we need to talk about what's going down in Atlanta. The city of Atlanta is trying to build a $90 million police military facility funded by corporations and built by destroying Atlanta's largest green space, 381 acres of Weelaunee Forest. This will be the largest police training facility in the US and will include military-grade training facilities, a mock city to practice urban warfare, dozens of shooting ranges, and more. What y'all need to know is that the fight against Cop City is not just about Atlanta residents. Militarized police are affecting us across the country. The Atlanta Cop City plan states that almost 50% of the police and military trained on site will be from outside Atlanta, both nationally and globally. Protesters of Cop City have also been hit with bogus charges, including domestic terrorism, while standing up against the destruction of the forest. 61 activists have been charged with RICO charges, or racketeering charges, for their involvement in Stop Cop City. Nobody has been convicted of these baseless charges, and the use of these fascist techniques by the police and the government is something that threatens all of our safety and all of our freedom.
This is Ricky Brown, an Atlanta businessman who supports the building of Cop City. What he said was directed to Scarlett Mar-a-Lago, who, like me, is opposed to Cop City. Take a look at this.
Taxpayers and the voters of the citizens of Atlanta, that's our land. That's my land. That's not your land. And I don't care what you say, that ain't your land. And I don't know where you from. Where are you from? You're not even from here. Wherever you from, you need to go back where you come from, because you don't scare us and you don't scare me either. And that sign don't scare me. This is our city. And that's my land. That's the citizens of this city's land. Until you realize that, until you understand that, then you'll be going back to wherever country or wherever you come from.
His language was unacceptable, unprofessional, uncalled for. It was a blatant disrespect to citizens, to the chamber, and to the people. Ricky Brown is the CEO of Next Step Solutions, a staffing company that has contracts with the NAACP, the King Center, and yes, the city of Atlanta. And if you are wondering why he even made the comment, it's because of the confusion around the people's efforts to actually get a referendum to vote on Cop City on the ballot.
To build a militaristic mock city that is going to train police from all over the world. It's only gotten worse.
Yeah, Cop City sucks. It's bad. Everything's bleak. But what can you do to help right now, even if you don't live in Atlanta and you can't leave your home? Well, our friends at the Atlanta Police Department are hiring and they're using this application to do it. So if you are a budding police officer who's always wanted to apply for Cop City, you can mosey down to the link tree in our bio and click this link. It'll open up this fancy little notebook, which after signing in, you can click these 3 lines here, click on runtime, and run off to set up the environment. And after it's done, click runtime and run on once more. And the code will start submitting applications for you. So congrats on your new job. We Cop City lovers, thank you.
We stand in solidarity with other organizations and community members hitting the ground to continuously shine that light of wrongdoing from the city of Atlanta. 61 people have been charged with RICO charges over the resistance of the construction of Cop City, Atlanta's $67 million public safety training center. 23 protesters were arrested at the site and charged with domestic terrorism. 3 of those individuals accused of RICO charges were simply handing out flyers. This week of action has kicked off with a rally to support those being arraigned under RICO charges at the Fulton County Superior Court. And we're there. The people have spoken, have voted, and have protested. We do not want the construction of Cop City. Stop Cop City.
Faggots on your best. Free. Free is when nobody else can tell us what to be. Free is when the TV ain't controlling what we see. Told my niggas I need you. Through all the fame, you know I stay true. Pray my niggas stay free. Made a few mistakes, but this ain't where I wanna be. Before I'm judged by 12, put a 12 on my feet. Told my niggas I need you. Stay up, I know.
Really good question. So there's a bunch of different ways that y'all can help the Stop Cop City movement, help the protesters and activists that are down there right now. And I went ahead and made a link tree. Just go ahead and click the link in my bio to access this. The first one for the Community Movement Builders page. In my research, they're one of the primary organizations, local organizations that are helping with the initiative. So definitely follow them to get information. They post a lot of resources as well. The second link is the Stop Cop City Instagram page, which is another page that's dedicated to the movement, where you can find a lot of resources about like how to help and just know what's going on. The third link is the National Bail Fund Network, which is collaborating with the Atlanta Solidarity Fund to help bail out protesters and activists. And the last link is from stopcop.city, which lists a lot of resources and information about what's going on there. If anyone has any more resources or thinks I should change any of these, literally just let me know. I am glad to help share the information.
Damn.
They can fund Cop City, but they can't keep the drains clean in Atlanta.